welcome to the Cabinet of Science and Fiction.
Great to be diving into this one today.
Yeah, absolutely. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a really foundational text in the ancient astronaut world, The 12th Planet by Zecharia Sitchin.
Right. Published back in 1976. And it really did stir things up, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It offered this really radical way of looking at ancient Mesopotamian texts.
Not as myths, but more as history.
Exactly, as literal records of encounters with extraterrestrials. So our mission today is really to unpack some of the core ideas from Sitchin's work.
And try to understand why it's still debated so fiercely, decades later.
Definitely. So let's start with Sitchin himself. His approach was pretty unique.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just a casual interest. He brought some serious linguistic skills to the table.
Like what?
Well, fluent in several modern languages, obviously, but crucially, he knew ancient languages.
The really old stuff.
Yeah, ancient Sumerian, Egyptian, Hebrew. He wasn't just relying on translations. He was going to the source.
That's a key point, isn't it? Working with the original texts.
It's vital for the kind of interpretation he was doing. And this wasn't like a quick study.
Yeah.
He apparently spent 30 years researching before the 12th Planet even came out.
30 years. Wow. Okay, that's serious commitment.
It really suggests a deep long-term engagement with this material.
Yeah.
Developing his ideas over time.
And his books, they're full of images too, right? Artifacts, tablets.
Yes, loads of photos and drawings. He clearly wanted you, the reader, to see the evidence he was drawing on. Cylinder seals, monuments, inscriptions.
Makes it feel more tangible, I suppose, less abstract.
Definitely. So early on, he tackles a really fundamental question, the origin of life itself.
On Earth, yeah. What's the puzzle there, according to Sitchin?
Well, he points to things that even mainstream science acknowledges are a bit odd.
Such as?
Like the fact that all known life on Earth seems to come from a single origin.
One single biochemical pathway.
Exactly. If life just popped up spontaneously from chemicals, why not multiple different origins? It's a fair question.
And the composition.
The elements in living things. They don't perfectly match the proportions in Earth's crust. Some common elements are underrepresented in life, while some rarer ones are more concentrated.
Okay, so that leads to the question.
Could life, or maybe just the essential building blocks, have been, imported, brought here from somewhere else?
Panspermia, basically, though often framed naturally, like via meteorites.
Right. Sitchin obviously takes it in a different direction, but he starts with these scientific anomalies.
Okay, so origin of life is one puzzle. Then there's human evolution itself.
Yes, the standard picture, apes to hominids over millions of years.
Yeah.
Homo genus appearing maybe 3 million years ago.
A long, slow climb.
Supposedly. But then Sitchin focuses on the appearance of Homo sapiens, us, specifically Cro-Magnon people.
When was that again?
Around 35,000 years ago, give or take. And they seem to arrive. Well, quite suddenly.
Instantly how?
With a whole toolkit, basically. Specialized tools, tailored clothes, organized societies, art, burials, the works.
And physically?
Physically, very much like modern humans. Their skeletons are remarkably similar to ours.
So it's like hitting the fast-forward button on evolution.
That's kind of how Sitchin presents it. After this long, slow development, boom beings who are essentially modern humans appear.
Which leads him to ask, why? Why so fast? Why seemingly ahead of the curve?
Exactly. And he puts forward the explanations found in the ancient texts themselves. Either we were imported or we were created.
Created by the gods.
Right. Which, in his view, were these extraterrestrial visitors. Mainstream science, of course, has other explanations involving environmental shifts, mutations, social learning.
Sure, there are other models, but Sitchin highlights this abruptness as a key anomaly.
And not just the appearance of Homo sapiens, but the subsequent explosion of civilization.
Right. If we were around in a more primitive state for hundreds of thousands of years, why didn't civilization start way earlier? Why aren't we still, chipping flint?
It's a provocative question. And he points to the Near East as the cradle.
Around 11,000 BCE, the Neolithic Revolution.
That's the period. The beginnings of farming, domesticating plants and animals.
And it all seems to radiate out from that Near Eastern region, doesn't it? Wheat, barley, goats, sheep.
Precisely. The very foundations of settled life and agriculture emerged there. A massive shift.
And even in those early days, Sitchin notes some interesting finds.
Yeah, even as stone tools were getting more refined, like sickles for harvesting. People were building stone houses, even defensive walls. And then there are those early carvings, 9th millennium BCE.
The ones showing figures with helmets? And goggles?
Exactly. Figures described as gods. Very suggestive, especially when you read Sitchin.
Definitely. Okay, so from there, he focuses on the Sumerians, but first he talks about the Akkadians. Why is that step important?
Because Akkadian was the lingua franca, you could say, for the later Babylonians and Assyrians.
The common thread.
Right. It's the earliest known Semitic language, related to Hebrew and Aramaic. But the crucial thing is, the Babylonians and Assyrians themselves said their language in their writing.
Cuneiform.
Yes, the wedge-shaped script. They said it wasn't originally theirs. They inherited it.
From older sources.
Exactly. They often noted on their tablets copied from an older original.
So who invented it then? Who wrote those originals? That's Sitchin's question.
Precisely. And why call the language Akkadian?
Does he connect that to the Bible?
He does. Genesis mentions Akkad as one of Nimrod's cities, alongside Babel and Erech. And archaeology confirms a major kingdom of Akkad, founded by Sargon the Great, existed before Babylon and Assyria.
Okay, so there's a historical basis for the name.
A powerful kingdom that predates the later empires. Sargon himself boasted about ruling from the Gulf to the Mediterranean.
And then there's that amazing library discovery, Ashurbanipal's library.
In Nineveh, yeah. Over 25,000 clay tablets. A treasure trove.
And many were copies.
Yes, explicitly labeled as copies of older texts. Some even said things like, language of Sumer without change. Preserving Sumerian.
Wow. And Ashurbanipal himself claimed.
He claimed he could read the intricate Sumerian tablets, even ones from before the flood.
Before the flood. That implies an incredible continuity of knowledge.
It really does. A direct link back to this very ancient Sumerian source.
So let's talk about the Sumerians themselves. Their building projects were immense, right? Ziggurats.
Huge stepped pyramids, often 7 levels. And apparently the building instructions they received from the gods were complex, even if they looked simple.
Like a simple plan, but needing interpretation.
Possibly involving different scales or mathematical ratios. It wasn't just connect the dots. And the sheer scale of their civilization by the 3rd millennium BCE.
What are we talking about?
Building cities on artificial mounds, massive brick production, advanced metalworking, extensive trade. It points to a really sophisticated society.
And it wasn't just the big structures. Sitchin highlights their technology with clay.
Their mastery of clay was fundamental. They reinforced bricks with reeds or straw, developed kilns for high-temperature firing.
Which allowed for stronger buildings.
And crucially, those kilns, the ovens, were key to metallurgy. You need controlled high heat to smelt ores. That tech jump enabled the Bronze Age around 6000 BCE.
But Sumer didn't have much metal ore itself, did it?
No, but they had the fuel for the furnaces. So they imported the raw ores. They were brilliant resource managers and traders.
Setting up supply chains for metals.
Exactly. And their technical vocabulary for metals and alloys shows a really deep understanding.
Then there's the petroleum thing. That seems almost anachronistic.
It's startling, isn't it? They use bitumen and asphalt for all sorts of things. Fuel, roads, waterproofing, cement, paint.
Where did they get it?
It seeped out of the ground naturally in Mesopotamia. Excavations at Ur found the city practically built on layers of bitumen.
And the language reflects this.
Oh, yes. Specific Sumerian terms for different types. And Sitchin traces words like naphtha back to Sumerian roots like napatus, stones that burn.
Incredible. What about other areas? Medicine? Law?
Sumerian foundations there, too. Akkadian medical texts are full of Sumerian loanwords and concepts covering therapy, surgery, even incantations.
So Mesopotamian medicine starts with Sumer?
Seems so. And the law codes, they had sections on surgeons' fees and malpractice penalties.
Really? That detailed?
Oh, yeah. And Sumerian law codes, like the laws of Eshnunna, predate Hammurabi by centuries. They dealt with price controls, contracts, family law, personal injury, a complex legal framework.
A truly organized society and culture. Music?
Music and song seem to be another Sumerian first. There's evidence of musical notation, theories about musical keys, depictions of lots of instruments, lyres, harps, flutes, drums.
A rich cultural life.
Absolutely. And underpinning it all was their language, the foundation for so much that followed in the region.
So bringing it all together, this incredibly advanced Sumerian civilization, where did it come from?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Archaeology suggests it appears quite suddenly around 3800 BCE in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley.
No long, slow buildup in that specific location.
Excavations seem to hit virgin soil around that date, then boom, complex civilization. The first, the most advanced of its time. The basis for our own, arguably.
But the Sumerians themselves, who were they? Where did they come from? Why did it all happen then and there?
That remains a huge mystery in conventional history. The Sumerians' own answer.
Let me guess. The gods.
Exactly. Everything that looks beautiful, we made by the grace of the gods.
Which brings us back to these gods. How did Sitchin see them compared to, say, the Greek gods on Olympus?
He draws a sharp contrast. The Greek gods, Zeus, Hera, Apollo, they were very anthropomorphic, living up on a mountain, feasting, squabbling. Very human-like dramas.
Part of the earthly realm, in a way.
Yes. Zeus might wield thunder, but his origins trace back through Titans to Uranus, heaven, and Gaia, earth. There's a whole mythology rooted in the natural world and human-like relationships.
And that core group was 12, right? The Olympians.
Yes. That number 12 is significant. The circle of the great gods being 12 seems to pop up again and again in different cultures.
Like where else? Sitchin connects it beyond Greece.
Oh yes, he points to the Hittites in Anatolia. Their chief storm god, Teshub, is very much like Zeus or Jupiter. Bull symbol, thunder, lightning.
Okay.
And the Hittites had myths about dragons, precursors to St. George, and they explicitly mentioned gods of old, suggesting they knew of earlier pantheons.
So a sense of inherited divinity.
And the Hurrians, who influenced the Hittites, add another layer. Then you have the Canaanites.
Known from the Ugarit texts.
Exactly. Their language is related to Hebrew and Akkadian. Their pantheon had El as the father figure, similar to Anu or Zeus, his consort Asherah like Hera, Astarte like Aphrodite Ishtar.
Yeah.
Parallels are striking.
Even Egypt?
Egyptian myths also speak of sky gods descending to Earth in primeval times. So this theme of celestial beings interacting with Earth is widespread.
It's not just a Sumerian anomaly.
Not according to Sitchin. He sees a consistent pattern, and the palace at Mori provided more evidence.
What was found there?
Besides the 20,000 tablets, there was a famous mural. It shows King Zimrilim being invested, basically given his authority, by the goddess Inanna, or Ishtar, as she was known there.
A direct visual of god-king interaction.
Precisely, reinforcing this idea of a very hands-on relationship.
So, focusing back on the Sumerian accounts, what about Enlil? He was a major figure.
Hugely important. Texts say Enlil arrived on Earth before humans, the black-headed people, were created.
Okay.
He set up his main center at Nippur, which was considered the Duranki, the bond or link between heaven and earth.
The command center, maybe?
Something like that. But these gods, even Enlil, weren't just abstract powers. They had issues.
Like the story of Enlil and Ninlil.
Yeah, that story shows Enlil pursuing a young goddess, Sud. It doesn't paint him in the best light initially, and he actually gets banished for a while by the other gods for his actions.
So even the chief god was held accountable.
By the divine council, yes. It shows they had rules and consequences. Eventually, Sud becomes his wife, Ninmil, but it highlights their very ungodly or perhaps very human behavior sometimes.
And humans could even complain about them.
Apparently. Sitchin mentions a king of Ur lodging a formal complaint with the assembly of gods about Enlil appointing someone the king thought was unworthy.
That's pretty bold.
It suggests a dynamic we don't usually associate with gods and mortals.
Now, the creation of humans, Sitchin puts Ea, or Enki, right at the center of that.
Absolutely. In the Sumerian and Akkadian texts, humanity's creation is a deliberate act, planned and executed by the gods. And Ea is consistently portrayed as the chief scientist or engineer behind it.
One who figured out how to do it.
Yes. Which makes sense, then, that it was Ea who later helped Adaba, a human he'd created, try to gain immortality from Anu in the heavens. He seems to have a soft spot for his creation.
A protector figure. Sitchin then compares succession disputes among these gods to Bible stories.
He does. He looks at stories like Abraham Ishmael, Isaac Esau, Jacob's sons. All these conflicts over inheritance and who's the rightful heir. And he suggests these might echo earlier similar disputes among the gods, specifically between Enlil, seen as the heir through Anu's official wife Antu, and Enki, who might have been Anu's firstborn but by another goddess.
The complexities of divine lineage.
Exactly. Maybe those biblical tales preserve a memory of celestial power struggles.
And Ninhursag fits into this, Enki's half-sister.
Right. Sitchin suggests Enki might have allied with Ninhursag, also Anu's daughter, but not Antu's, perhaps to strengthen his own line's claim to succession through future generations.
Playing the long game.
Potentially. The rules of succession seem complex, tied to paternal lineage. It might even explain why Abraham and Isaac referred to their wives as sisters, perhaps reflecting some ancient lineage rule.
Interesting connection. And the myth Enki and Ninhursag.
It describes Enki going to the pure land of Dilmun, seemingly to woo Ninhursag, who is described as being alone or unmarried at the time. It suggests a significant relationship between them.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. The myth of Zeus stealing the Tablet of Destinies. That sounds important.
Hugely important. This tablet held the divine formulas, the operating system of the cosmos, you might say.
So when Zeus stole it from Enlil,
Chaos. The divine order broke down, silence fell, power flickered. Even Anu, up in the celestial abode, was alarmed.
so Anu calls for action.
He does. He asks for a volunteer to go get the tablet back from Zu, promising great rewards.
But the other gods are hesitant.
Terrified. Zu now wielded Enlil's power. They feared being turned to clay if they confronted him.
So who steps up, or rather, who gets nominated?
It's Ea, the clever one, who suggests Ninurta, Enlil's son, should take on the mission.
Strategic move by Ea again.
You could see it that way. And Ninhursag, Ninurta's mother, actually encourages him to go.
Okay, turning to a different kind of divine drama, the lament over Ur. What was unique about that?
It wasn't written by humans mourning their city. It was written by the city's patron gods, Nana, the moon god, also called Sin, and his wife Ningal.
The gods themselves wrote the lament.
Yes, describing the desolation, the abandoned temples, the empty rivers. And crucially, they state they left the city before its final destruction.
Why?
The lament implies the city's fate was sealed by a decision of the great assembly of gods. It was unavoidable.
Wow. And Sitchin links Nanasan to that earlier story of Zu.
It explores a linguistic link. Nana's other name, Zuu, is almost the reverse of Enzu, meaning Lord Zu.
So he suggests Nana was Zu, or tried to be.
He suggests Nanasan might have been the one who tried to usurp Enlil's authority, the Enlildom. And his punishment wasn't death, but exile.
Exile where?
To Haran, which is exactly where the Bible says Terah took Abraham's family after leaving Ur, another striking parallel.
These connections keep piling up. What about Utushamash, the sun god?
Associated strongly with justice. Kings like Naram Sin claimed Utu helped them find ancient foundations. Early law codes were often justified as being based on Utu's true word.
Like Hammurabi receiving his code from Shamash.
That famous depiction, yes. Utu Shamash represents divine law and order.
Then there's Inanna Ishtar. She seems complicated.
Very. Often shown nude, emphasizing beauty and sensuality, but also fiercely independent, warlike, and sometimes fickle.
Gilgamesh famously rejected her, didn't he?
He did, listing all her previous lovers who came to bad ends. As she gained prominence, she became more of a warrior goddess, often shown heavily armed.
And her relationship with Dumuzi, Enki's son.
Passionate but stormy. Love songs celebrate them, but other myths tell of quarrels, Dumuzi's descent to the underworld orchestrated by Ishtar.
And her journey to get him back.
A major mythological cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Shows her power and determination.
Okay, quickly, Ishkaradad. Enlil's younger son.
Enlil apparently sent him off to be the main god in the mountainous regions to the north and west. Sitchin suggests it was to manage conflicts among the younger gods. Keep them separated, maybe?
And finally, Marduk's rise.
That's later, mainly in Babylon. He essentially usurps Enlil's position and demands the 50 names, consolidating all the powers. But the core group, the Great Circle, remains 12, just with Marduk replacing Enlil.
So a changing of the guard within that top tier of 12.
Exactly. And below them, the texts mention the Anunnaki, often translated as those who from heaven to earth came, sometimes depicted as rank-and-file gods or workers.
Okay, let's talk about travel. Sitchin interprets descriptions of the gods moving around very literally, like Inanna's journeys.
Yes, he focuses on texts describing Inanna meticulously putting on 7 specific objects before her aerial trips.
7 objects, like what?
Things called SHUGR, described sometimes as a helmet, measuring pendants, special stone chains, twin stones, a golden cylinder, straps, a pala garment.
Sounds like equipment.
That's how Sitchin interprets it. He connects it to the attire seen on that statue from Marade. The helmet, the goggles, the suit. He suggests these weren't just symbols, but functional gear for flight.
And the angels in the Bible, they weren't always ethereal, were they?
No, the biblical accounts often describe them as very physical. They eat, drink, sleep. Lot's visitors in Sodom are called men. Sitchin asks, how are they instantly recognized as messengers of God?
Their appearance, their clothes.
Perhaps their attire, helmets, uniforms, or their equipment. The men at Sodom blind the mob with a flash of light. The angel with Gideon makes fire shoot from a rock with his staff. Sounds like technology.
And the eye symbol, that pops up a lot.
Yes, those strange eye idols found at Tel Brak from the 4th millennium BCE. Thousands of them. The Hittites used the eye symbol to mean divine being. It's also seen in Minoan and Mycenaean art.
What could it represent?
Sitchin connects it to surveillance, perhaps, or technology.
Now the ME, That term seems crucial but mysterious.
Very. Often translated as divine decrees or essences of civilization. Sitchin suggests it might be more technological, maybe related to data storage or control systems, like computer chips containing civilization's blueprints.
And connected to flight.
Possibly. He links ME to MU, which he interprets as sky vehicle or name that ascends. ENMED, DURANKI, a title meaning Lord whose ME connects heaven and earth.
Suggesting a technological link.
And Nebuchadnezzar II rebuilt a special pavilion for Marduk's celestial chariot, installing 7 ME of heaven and earth. Some depictions show gods inside rocket-like chambers with 12 globes.
Rocket-like chambers. And what about Naru or Shem?
Kings erected stelae, stone monuments, called Naru in Sumerian. Sitchin proposes this term, related to stones that rise, wasn't just a monument, but maybe simulated the fiery craft of the gods.
Simulating a rocket.
Potentially. He connects it to the Hebrew word Shem, often translated name, but which he argues could also mean sky vehicle, and Yod, another monument type, was often pyramidal.
Like the Ben stone in Egypt?
Exactly. The pyramidal stone said to be where the gods first landed. These monuments might be attempts to emulate or commemorate the gods' vehicles.
Which brings us to the Tower of Babel. Sitchin reads that differently too.
Yes. If Shem means sky vehicle, then the story isn't about making a name for themselves. It's about building a Shem, an air vehicle, and a launch tower.
To reach the heavens like the gods?
To travel in a MU like Ishtar. And doing it at Babili, the gateway of the gods, was audacious.
And the outcome in the story, confusion of languages.
Right. Berossus, the Babylonian historian, wrote that the gods destroyed the tower with winds and scattered humanity, diversifying their languages. Sitchin sees this as the gods preventing humans from acquiring space travel too early.
Gilgamesh also sought a Shem, didn't he?
Yes. His epic journey wasn't just for immortality, but specifically to the land of Tilman to make ascend my Shem. He wanted his own sky vehicle.
What triggered his quest?
Witnessing a falling object described as a work of Anu, the sky god. Perhaps a spacecraft landing.
And his visions.
One vision Sitchin interprets as a remarkably accurate description of a rocket launch. The noise, smoke, fire, ascent, debris falling.
Wow. And Gilgamesh travels.
Along the route of Shamash, the sun god, but maybe also a spaceport reference, through 12 Baru, or double hours of darkness, before reaching light. A long journey.
There's also the myth of Etana flying on an eagle.
Yes, flying up to the heaven of Anu. Some versions say he fell, maybe got scared seeing the earth shrink below.
Like an astronaut's perspective.
Sitchin compares it to Isaiah describing God sitting above the circle of the earth with inhabitants like grasshoppers. The imagery is striking, and there are depictions of eagles ascending from winged structures' launch towers.
The Sumerians even had specific terms related to this.
Sitchin identifies APN, an object depicted at Uchu Shamash's temple in Sippar, as looking like a multi-stage rocket with a conical MU or command module on top.
A multi-stage rocket depicted thousands of years ago.
That's his interpretation. He also identifies terms for other parts of Uchu's temple. A golden sphere, crew cabin, GIR, a sharp missile-like component, and Alikmarati, propeller that makes ships go the engine.
So he pieced together a picture of
a 3-stage spacecraft, engines at the bottom, supplies and equipment in the middle, and the cylindrical celestial chamber for the Dinyar, the god or astronaut, at the top.
Dinyar meaning righteous ones of the rockets.
That's one interpretation Sitchin favors. It all leads back to the literal reading of gods of heaven and earth beings who came from heaven to earth.
And connects to the biblical sons of God who took human wives, Genesis 6.
Yes. Those beings later identified in Jewish texts as fallen angels like Shamhazai. Sitchin sees them as Nephilim astronauts intermingling with humans.
These gods seem to travel back and forth quite a bit.
The texts describe an assembly of the gods with strict protocol for entering Anu's throne room. Enlil and Ea had specific seats.
And individuals traveled between Earth and this celestial abode.
Yes. Anu visited Earth. Ishtar went up. Enlil traveled. Shamash commuted daily in some texts. Even humans like Adapa and maybe Gilgamesh made the trip, and the king of Tyre in Ezekiel is accused of claiming he'd been there.
Okay, let's shift to astronomy. Sitchin claims the Sumerians had incredibly advanced knowledge.
He points to depictions like a famous cylinder seal, showing what looks like our sun surrounded by 11 orbiting bodies, not just the 9 planets we knew until recently.
11. So sun, moon, Earth, and the other planets. Plus one more.
Plus one more. The 12th member of the solar system, according to Sitchin's reading of Sumerian cosmology.
And this knowledge influenced later cultures.
Hugely. Astronomical terms in Akkadian, Hittite, Hurrian, etc. all seem to have Sumerian roots. Ashurbanipal's library had 25,000 tablets on astronomy and astrology, explicitly acknowledging Sumerian origins.
So our astronomy ultimately derives from Sumer.
Much of it seems to. Their division of the heavens into three ways: Enlil's northern sky, Ea's southern, and Anu's central band.
The Way of Anu. That sounds familiar.
That central band corresponds to the zodiac. The Greeks adopted the 12 zodiacal constellations directly from the Sumerians via the Babylonians.
Even the Greeks admitted Mesopotamian sources.
Yes, early astronomers like Thales acknowledged learning from Mesopotamia.
And the Sumerian number system. Base 60.
The sexagesimal system, perfect for calculations involving circles 360 degrees. They applied it to the heavens. Sitchin even notes numerical assignments to the three ways, 90, 180, 360 perhaps, segments of a celestial sphere.
Did they know about things like precession, the wobble of Earth's axis?
Professor Hilprecht, studying Sumerian mathematical tablets, concluded their system, based on a fundamental number of 12,960,000, indicated knowledge of the great year, the 25,920 years cycle of precession.
That's extremely advanced knowledge for the time.
It implies incredibly long periods of observation, or, well, inherited knowledge. They even had texts measuring distances between stars using water clocks.
So if they knew all this, did they know about Uranus, Neptune, Pluto?
That's Sitchin's point. It seems unlikely a civilization guided by space travelers, the Nephilim, would be unaware of the outer planets. Their great star lists were incredibly detailed.
And that 12th celestial body ties into the 12 gods.
Yes. He points to carvings showing the 12 zodiac signs alongside symbols for 12 members of the solar system. The 12 great gods of the pantheon correspond to these 12 celestial bodies. The number 12's prevalence in ancient cultures stems from this celestial count.
What about our moon? Sitchin discusses anomalies there, too.
Yeah, based on findings from the Apollo era, chemical differences between Earth and moon rocks challenge the old ripped-from-Earth theory.
Right.
Apollo confirmed the moon was once geologically active, with layers and internal heat, though maybe from radioactive materials concentrated near the surface.
How did heavy radioactive stuff get near the surface?
Good question. And evidence points to massive impacts on the moon around 4 billion years ago. Sitchin weaves this into his cosmological narrative.
Which comes from the Enuma Elish.
The Babylonian epic of creation, yes, when on high. It's a cosmogony, telling the story before heaven and earth were formed.
Recited at New Year ritual.
A sacred text. The Babylonian version elevates Marduk, but Sitchin argues it's based on an older Sumerian version featuring Anu, Enlil, and Ninurta.
And this epic describes the solar system's formation.
Sitchin interprets it as the story of a large, rogue planet, Marduk, in the Babylonian version. Nibiru, in the Sumerian context, entering our young solar system from outer space.
Interacting with the existing planets.
Yes. Its gravity interacts with the outer planets, like E and Neptune, bending its path inward towards the inner solar system where the Sun and 9 planets await.
10 bodies in total at that point.
Yes. Then comes the celestial battle.
Between Marduk, Nibiru, and Tiamat.
Tiamat, an ancient planet that existed between Mars and Jupiter. The weapons describe flame, lightning, nets. Sitchin interprets as gravitational forces and electrical discharges between the planets and Marduk Nibiru's moons or satellites.
And the result of this battle.
Marduk Nibiru, or one of its moons, collides with Tiamat, splitting her in two.
Creating.
One half is smashed into pieces, becoming the asteroid belt, the hammered bracelet described in the text. The other half is pushed into a new orbit between Mars and Venus, becoming Earth.
Earth is half of Tiamat.
According to this interpretation, complete with Tiamat's main moon, Kingu, which becomes Earth's moon, Heaven, the asteroid belt, and Earth were created from Tiamat.
That's a radically different creation story.
It is. And the text describes Marduk Nibiru then establishing Earth's orbit, creating seasons, setting its rotation for day-night, paralleling Genesis.
Does the text describe early Earth?
Remarkably accurately, according to Sitchin, volcanic activity, atmosphere formation, oceans coalescing, continents emerging.
What about Tiamat's moon, Kingu? You said it became our moon, or was that Pluto?
Ah, good point. Sitchin interprets that Tiamat's leader satellite, also called Kingu, was captured by Marduk Nibiru and forced into a new, distant, eccentric orbit, becoming Pluto. Our moon came with the Earth half of Tiamat.
Okay, so Pluto has a different origin, and Marduk Nibiru itself.
It settles into a vast elliptical orbit, becoming the 12th member of our solar system. Nibiru, the planet of the crossing.
with a very long orbital period.
Around 3,600 Earth years, Sitchin calculates based on various texts.
And its return is significant.
Hugely. Mesopotamian and biblical prophecies link its periodic return near Earth with potential catastrophes, floods, earthquakes, but also with judgment and the dawn of a new era, the day of the Lord.
Like Isaiah's descriptions of cosmic upheaval.
Exactly. Sitchin suggests the Nephilim, the inhabitants of Nibiru, might have checked in on Earth's progress, maybe intervened, each time their planet passed through the inner solar system.
Every 3,600 years, aligning with major shifts like the Neolithic, the start of civilization.
The timing seems suggestive, he argues. Neolithic around 11,000 BCE, pottery around 7,400 BCE, Sumerian civilization 3,800 BCE, roughly multiples of 3,600 years apart.
Okay. This implies life could exist on a distant planet like Nibiru.
Sitchin points to discoveries of water and organic molecules in interstellar space, challenging the idea life needs Earth-like conditions. And probes like Pioneer 10 found Jupiter emits more heat than it receives from the sun, suggesting internal heat sources are possible, maybe keeping Nibiru warm, far from the sun.
And Pioneer 10 carried that plaque.
Yes, the message for potential extraterrestrials, showing humans our location relative to pulsars in our solar system with 9 planets.
Not 12.
A key discrepancy, Sitchin notes. Our message shows 9. The ancient message depicts 12.
The Babylonian New Year festival, Al-Kitu, lasted 12 days. Any connection?
Sitchin argues the entire 12-day festival symbolically reenacted Nibiru Marduk's journey through the solar system.
How so?
Each day represented a stage. Marduk's passage near the outer planets, the celestial battle, when the Enuma Elish was recited, Marduk's proclamation as Lord of the 12 celestial members, and finally his triumphant return or establishment.
With specific rituals matching planetary positions.
Yes, including the arrival of Marduk's son Nabu, representing Mercury perhaps, and symbolic events marking Marduk's victory. The names of the procession stations were Sumerian and Akkadian, attesting to the festival's antiquity.
Texts also group planets into 7 and 4.
Yes, often referring to the 7 planets, Earth, Moon, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and the 4 outer planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, separated by a celestial barrier, the asteroid belt.
Suggesting distinct zones.
Right. There are even texts describing the 7 crossing the barrier, maybe a rare alignment. And the terms for the outer zone suggest difficulty or confusion, perhaps indicating the Nephilim understood the navigational challenges there.
Did they name the planets with space travel in mind?
Sitchin interprets some names that way. Neptune called IRU, curve, or HMBA, swampy vegetation. Uranus called Kakab Shanama, planet which is double, or ENTI Mash Sig, planet of bright greenish life.
Speculative, but interesting. And Mars.
Called Light, established at the gate of the waters referring to the asteroid belt, or one near the center. One seal seems to show an astronaut near Mars communicating with mission control on Earth.
An astronaut depiction.
Yes, a figure in what looks like a suit and helmet, resembling a fishman, maybe for water landings, holding an instrument, seemingly greeting Earth. Sitchin identifies Earth as the 7th planet encountered when coming inward.
7th.
SHU.GI, land of the right orbital placement, or good place of rest.
Is there anything like a map?
There's a fascinating Sumerian inscription showing Enlil's journey, depicted as geometric triangles connected by lines, possibly representing the solar system segments and the trajectory towards Earth, mentioning landmarks and constellations.
With mathematical formulas.
Another part of the text seems to give calculations for the journey, referencing units of measure and Pluto, SHUPA.
So how would these Nephilim spacecraft travel?
Sitchin suggests they wouldn't necessarily wait for Nibiru to get close. They might launch towards Nibiru's orbital path well ahead of time.
Using gravity assists.
Possibly. Launching before Nibiru reached its farthest point could save energy, meaning the spacecraft might arrive at Earth before Nibiru itself passed through. It required careful timing, the right territory on Earth, and coordination with the home planet.
Which brings us to their arrival on Earth. When was this supposed to have happened?
Sitchin places their first landing around 450,000 years ago.
During an ice age.
Yes, when about a third of the landmass was ice-covered. Rainfall patterns were different, too. It was a challenging environment.
And they landed in Mesopotamia, the Eden.
Eden, home of the righteous ones. Sitchin connects this Sumerian term to the Akkadian Ednu plain and the biblical Eden. Dini Gir, the righteous ones of the rockets, lived in the Eden.
Why Mesopotamia?
Perhaps early landings needed water, landing in the Persian Gulf or marshlands before establishing land bases.
And Enki was the first commander.
According to the text, Enki and the ordering of the earth, yes. He seems to have been in charge for a long time. Sitchin speculates based on astrological ages. Maybe Enki arrived near the end of the age of Pisces, stayed for a full great year, around 26,000 years, plus more, potentially commanding Earth alone for something like 28,800 years initially.
A very long tenure.
He suggests the initial work building dams, canals started in harsh glacial conditions, then the climate warmed around 430,000 years ago, allowing expansion inland. A second commander, Alalgar, is mentioned for Eridu.
What about Nippur? Enlil's city, did it have a specific function?
Sitchin points to the Dirga, a mysterious restricted chamber in Enlil's temple there. He compares it to a modern mission control.
With star maps and communications.
Descriptions mention star charts, orbital predictions, communications links, ADB. When Zeus stole the Tablet of Destinies, the text says brilliance was lost in the Durga, silence prevailed. Order broke down. It was like a control center losing function.
And the main spaceport, where was that?
Sitchin identifies Sippar, the city of Utushamash, as the spaceport.
Why Sippar?
Location, location, location. He proposes the Nephilim established a landing corridor aligned with Mount Ararat to the north, running south along a specific meridian. Sippar was perfectly placed on this line, in the plains, allowing a clear flight path angled between the western plateau and the eastern mountains, with line-of-sight communication to Nippur.
And the other early cities, were they randomly placed?
No. Sitchin argues the first 7 cities, Eridu, Bad Tabira, Larsa, Sippar, Shurupak, Nippur, Lagash, followed a master plan. They were spaced out along lines radiating from Sippar, often at specific geometric angles relative to the landing corridor meridian.
Creating a grid or landing beacons?
Perhaps. Lagash, for instance, might have been a key beacon. Guday's texts about rebuilding its sacred precinct describe Ninurta giving him architectural plans and a goddess providing a celestial map for alignment.
Alignment with what?
With the stars, but also installing equipment. The divine black bird, a shuttle, the god's terrible eye, or great ray, a guidance beam, a controller, communication device, all facing toward Sippar. Utu himself came to inspect and approve.
This sounds incredibly advanced. What about things like the Ark of the Covenant? Could that fit in?
Sitchin interprets the Ark, based on the detailed biblical instructions for its construction and handling, carried on poles, don't touch, instant death, as potentially an electrically charged communication device.
A two-way radio to God, or the Nephilim.
That's the implication. Such a powerful device, linking humans to the divine, would naturally become an object of immense veneration and fear.
And those eye idols, again, found at Lagash, Mari, Tel Brak.
Especially the eye temple at Tel Brak, full of them. Sitchin suggests these weren't just abstract symbols, but perhaps simulations of Ninurta's terrible eye at Lagash, or the elevated eye of mission control at Nippur that explores the Earth. Surveillance technology.
And the ziggurats themselves, more than just temples.
Given the flat Mesopotamian plains, any space-related equipment would need elevation. Sitchin sees ziggurats as artificial mountains, platforms for this equipment.
With the god's residence on top.
Yes, in a courtyard housing his bird, settle, and weapons.
Technology.
Some depictions even show ziggurats with what look like antennas. They connected the gods in heaven with the gods on earth, not necessarily for human worshippers.
Okay. So the Nephilim set up shop, and Lil eventually arrived and took command from Enki.
Yes, that seems to be when Enki's title shifted more towards Ea, Lord of Waters, possibly signifying his new domain.
Which was the EBZU, often translated as underworld or abyss.
Right, but Sitchin argues EBZU wasn't a gloomy underworld like Hades. It was Ea's domain, possibly referring to the southern hemisphere, specifically southern Africa.
Not underground.
Not necessarily a subterranean hell. Myths show gods like Inanna and even Enlil traveling to the Abzu and returning. It's described as bright, with flowing waters, rich in resources. He had loved it there. Journeys were made by boat.
So what was in the Abzu? What were they doing there?
Mining. Sitchin connects the Abzu, or Arali, place of the waters, the shining veins, with the gold mines of southern Africa.
Gold! That was the purpose.
That's the core of his argument. The Nephilim came to Earth primarily to obtain gold, which they needed, perhaps, for their atmosphere back on Nibiru. The hard labor was initially done by the Anunnaki gods assigned to the Abzu under Ea.
Transporting the ore.
Yes, in special cargo ships called MAGUR, URNU, ABZU, boat for ore of the underworld, back to Mesopotamia.
To cities like Bad Tabira.
Foundation of metallurgy. The ore was processed there, smelted, refined into ingots. The Sumerian sign Zag, precious purified, actually looks like an ingot. Archaeological finds confirm these shapes.
So there was a golden age, literally, when the gods mined gold.
The myths of golden, silver, bronze ages might be faint memories of this, perhaps linked to the metals being mined. Gold, silver, copper are all conductive, malleable, useful technologically.
How many Nephilim were there?
Text suggests they arrived in groups of 50. Numbers grew over time, maybe coinciding with Nibiru's passages. Some returned home, others stayed. Eventually, the texts mention 600 who settled on Earth, plus 300 Igigi who remained in orbit.
Did they use submarines too?
Some texts mention Elipur Tabiti, sunken boat, and Ea had fishermen assistants. Maybe they explored underwater resources too.
But the mining work was hard.
Extremely hard, especially for the Anunnaki sent to the Abzu Africa. Cylinder seals depict gods working in mines, sometimes overseen by Ea. This eventually led to problems.
The Anunnaki revolt, which led to the creation of humans.
Exactly. The Sumerian texts, like When the Gods Like Men, state explicitly that humans, the Lulu, were created deliberately by the gods to take over the hard labor, specifically the mining.
So humans are basically genetically engineered replacements for the Anunnaki miner.
That's the core idea. The texts describe Earth evolving naturally, first plants and animals appearing, consistent with evolution. Then the Nephilim encounter primitive hominids.
Like Homo erectus.
Possibly. Texts describe them as wild, hairy, eating plants, living with animals, like Enkidu in the Gilgamesh epic before he was civilized.
So the Nephilim decided to upgrade them.
To speed up evolution through genetic manipulation, Ea, the chief scientist, proposes the plan.
Genetic engineering, 450,000 years ago.
Sitchin argues beings capable of interstellar travel would certainly possess advanced biological knowledge. We're doing genetic engineering now. They would have been far beyond us.
How did they supposedly do it?
Methods like cell fusion, gene splicing, cloning. The texts are surprisingly specific, talking about mixing the essence or blood of a god with the clay of Earth, the genetic material of a hominid.
Were there failed experiments first?
Berossus wrote about frightful hybrid beings created in the beginning, winged men, two-faced creatures, goat-legged figures, maybe early attempts. Sitchin suggests mythical creatures like sphinxes or bullmen might be memories of real biological experiments.
Creatures commemorated in art.
Possibly, until they got it right, creating the prototype human, the Lulu Adamu.
Using clay and blood.
Consistently described, Enki instructs the mother goddess, Ninti or Mani, to mix clay from the foundation of the earth, Abzu Africa, with the essence or blood of a carefully chosen young god.
Just one. Or mass production.
The texts describe a production line. Ninti and 14 birth goddesses use molds, pinch off clay. Hints of fertilization in vitro and surrogate mothers, perhaps. They needed a workforce, not just one atom.
So they created these primitive workers. Where did they bring them to work?
Initially, just in the mines in the Abzu. This apparently caused resentment among the Anunnaki working up in Sumer, Mesopotamia. They wanted workers too.
So they complained.
The myth of the pickaxe describes the Anunnaki in Sumer appealing to Enlil, who then grants them their share of the black-headed people.
Which parallels Genesis.
Where Adam is created, then placed in the Garden of Eden eastward in Mesopotamia to till it. Sitchin sees this as the workers being brought from the labs mines in Africa to Sumer.
An incredible, detailed, alternative history based on reading these ancient texts literally.
It really is. The depth and complexity Sitchin draws from these narratives, connecting myths, artifacts, and linguistic clues. It offers this compelling, if controversial, alternative to how we usually understand our past.
The idea that advanced beings guided our evolution, built cities, traveled space, it's mind-bending stuff.
It challenges fundamental assumptions about history, religion, and our place in the universe.
Absolutely. We strongly encourage you, if you're interested, to explore Zecharia Sitchin's The 12th Planet and his other works for yourself. See how he builds his case. Consider the implications.
What really stands out to you from this deep dive so far? What questions does it raise? For me, it's the sheer consistency across different myths and artifacts that Sitchin highlights.
For me, it's the audacity of the interpretation itself, taking these ancient stories not as metaphors, but as garbled memories of actual technological events and beings. It forces you to look at the source material in a completely new light.
It certainly does. Even if you don't agree with his conclusions, the questions he raises about anomalies in the ancient record are fascinating in their own right.
Definitely. There's so much more in the book that we haven't even touched on yet. More details on the Nephilim, the deluge, the wars between the gods.
It's a vast tapestry he weaves.
It really is. We'll have to leave it there for this part of our deep dive. Until next episode.